I was at a crossroad. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do or how I wanted to do it. Um, I just knew that it was time for a change. My name is Jennifer Mitchell Early. I help individuals and teams achieve organizational and personal success. And this is Leadership Matters. We have all been at places in our lives and seasons in our journey where we don't really know the next move. We just know that where we are is no longer palatable, right? It's something that we know that we need to make a change. We're not exactly sure what that change is or how to go about it, or even if we're comfortable with making the change. Some of us stay in places for far too long after we've gotten every indication, every sign that it's time to move on because we know it. We're familiar with it. Even if we're uncomfortable in it, even if it no longer serves its purpose, it's familiar terrain. And as a result, we don't want to move forward because we don't want to move into the unknown. So if that is you, if you're in a place in your life where you're just not sure what's next, but you know deep down inside that there is a next, like this is over and it's time to move on, then this is for you. It's no fun feeling lost. It's no fun being unsure. It's no fun being afraid, having the fear of the unknown or, knowing what to do next. And I have faced that myself time and time again. Let me tell you, every time that the Lord wants me to move, everything, and I do mean everything that can be shaken is. I am at one point just very content and complacent and like, yeah, I can make this do what I needed to do. And then the Lord comes around and he's like, yeah, I bet you could. And I'm glad that you've learned to be content, whether you abase or abound. But it's time now for you to move on. I've got other things for you to do. And this was just a season for you to pick up the tools and learn the lessons that I needed you to pick up and learn. And now it's time for you to move on in your journey. And I can tell you that for me has been some trying times from when I had my daughter. I walked away from the workforce so I could focus on her. And that wasn't something that I actually planned or intended on doing. It's just the way that everything kind of, everything shook out that way, right? So I had my plans and then God had his plans. And then, I don't need to tell you whose plans won out. But every single time that the Lord moves me on to another level, to another place, it's like the bottom falls out for me. It's like 1 minute I'm okay, I'm happy, I am productive, I am, I feel like settled, like I'm home, right? Like this is it. And then as quickly, everything, I feel it first in my spirit. I feel the being unsettled. I feel being discontented. I feel the dis-ease, right? Things are not easy. They're not settled. They're not secure. And that's probably the best way I can say, like, I lose my security, not in necessarily a position or in status or things of that nature, because everything around me, everybody else still thinks things are cool, right? These are just all internal indicators in my spirit that I start to feel uneasy. I start to feel the shift. So, and sometimes while I know it's a shift and I know that God is saying, okay, it's time to move, I don't know what the next move is. I just know that season is over and done with. And because I've been walking with the Lord for a while, Now I understand. I'm not always like immediately obedient. I don't want to give you the impression that, you know, I am, just so spiritual and so faith filled and so obedient. I am still wrapped in humanity, as, we all are. And I still am sometimes like, no, I like it here. I like getting a check here. I like the atmosphere, the climate here. I've put in a lot of work here. I've got a reputation here. I've established myself here. So I'm not always like, okay, let me pack up and let's be out. Because I also have to overcome fear. And even as a change practitioner, I have to deal with my own fear regarding change. That is real. We all go through it. And there are some people that have, walked this faith walk so long that they get it. They can move and it's not an issue, and they don't bust a grape, and they're not, nervous, and they don't have any anxiety around it. I am still, very prayerfully walking through the journey. And so I hope to get better. I pray like, Lord, I don't want to be at a point where I'm operating in doubt or disbelief. I don't want to let fear take over and then I miss out on what you have for me, or what, the next assignment that I have that people are waiting on for me to deliver. But I, again, am a work in progress. So what I can say is what I do, right? So I always think to myself, and I was in prayer today, and that's why I'm bringing this to you, is, okay, Lord, what next? And in what next, faith without works is dead. So God requires some things from us. God is not a genie. You don't rub on the vase and he pops out and you get 3 wishes. That's not how that relationship works, right? God requires us to have faith the size of a mustard seed, which is very, 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 very tiny bit of faith that we are all given. Now, there's some people that have a gift of faith, right? And so that is their gift. That's what they operate in. So they can believe God I have a friend who that is truly her gift. And she didn't understand initially when I would say to her, no, that's not the measure. You got something a little bit different. That's the gift. That's what you operate in. The rest of us have been given a measure, and that's all God is requiring is our little measure. And, many of us struggle with that. So there is a difference between the measure and the gift. Let me say that. Let me assure you that I have the measure. Okay. I have the measure, and I'm still prayerfully, leaning and relying and resting on God with the measure. Okay. So I think to myself, I feel the shift, right? That's the first thing I think, honestly, like, Jesus, no, not again, not now. And then I think, well, what's next? And if you know anything about God and you know anything about faith, God is never, I'm going to give you an analogy that my good friend, Pastor Alicia Lytle, Excel Church in Cleveland, look her up. She is truly one of those people that operate with the gift of faith, right? She told me a long time ago, probably about 18 years ago, 19 years ago, but it's always stayed with me. She said to me, Jennifer, this is the way that the Lord works with us, right? This is how faith works. So say you're going, and she used a mall near to our hometown. And she said, say you're going to the mall, right? And God can very easily say, hey, your next stop is X, Y, and Z. In this example, she used the mall. I know how to get to the mall, right? So I would just hop on the highway or take the streets to the mall. Boom, bang, I'm done. She said, that's not the way God works, because God is teaching us to rely and depend on him. So even though he's taking you to the mall, he's going to tell you, he's going to give you directions as you need them to get to the destination. So he's going to tell you to get in your car, pull out the driveway. And you're like, okay, got a car, pull it out my driveway. You're like, okay, what's next, Lord? And as you need the directions, he will tell you, make a left out of your driveway. At the first stop sign at the end of your street, make another left, and so forth and so on until you get to your destination. But throughout that time, God is teaching us to rely and depend completely on him, on his directions, on his provisions, all those things until we get to the destination. Life is a journey filled with, I'll call them rest stops. I'll even call them like, I don't know, when you go on a trip and you take like road trips, you have little mini stops, but it's not your ultimate destination. That's the way that I look at it, right? I look at it in that these are all rest stops, pit stops, mini stops, places he's taking us. Maybe there's a scenic view that he wants us to see for whatever reason until we get to our destination. And so in that, I think, okay, God, I know you're not going to, I know enough now to know you're not going to tell me right now where I'm going to go. I'll give you another example. I was almost 20 years ago now, I wrote a book, I Will Survive in Jesus' Name. And it's a work of fiction about 3 women who overcome domestic violence, right? Standing on the word of God. I wrote the book in 2005. The book is still on Amazon to this day. Wrote the book in 2005 and, talked about another video about how I had some software on this regarding this book and how God has always been faithful and given me everything I need down to literally teaching me software in my sleep, telling me what buttons to push, what to expect as an outcome. And that's how I learned how to design my book. So recently, I reprinted and updated another book, Speak Life, a devotional journal for mothers and daughters through every stage of a woman's life, childhood, tween years, teenage years, womanhood, being a wife in marriage, and motherhood, right? So every stage of life. And so that very software that God taught me how to use almost 20 years ago, I had to use again. But now I'm using the updated version because my daughter uses it as a photographer. And so I was just marveling. I don't know why. I don't know why God surprises us. I don't know why we still get surprised by the things God does, because God is faithful. God is an encourager. God is a provider. God will show you everything that you need. He's already put in you. So he cultivates a climate and atmosphere where he's able to draw that out. So I don't know why I still am like, God, you are the bomb.com, because I should know God is the bomb.com. But I'm grateful that in our relationship, he still woos me. Like he still comes through like, aha, like with the flowers and the candy and the, 5-star dinner and blah, blah, blah. He still woos me like that. He still shows up in places where I'm like, oh, you did that for me? God, you thought about me like that. That's something that I just mentioned in, passing, and that's important to me. So you did it. You made a way. You showed me. You walked me through. That's the kind of God that we serve. So if you don't know, if you're new to my channel, I am a woman of faith, and I am a Christian woman. I believe in God. I walk with God. And so I talk about God. And so this is part of the journey with God. And so I'm like, okay, God, what's next? I've been walking with him long enough to know there is a next. But also know that in the period before he takes me to what's next, there's still a period in which you're always learning, you're always evolving, you're always developing. He's always teaching us something. So I know that I have to be patient in the process. And patience is a virtue that I got very, 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 very little of. So he's going to build it in me, right? So back to the books that I wrote some years ago. So I just put out Speak Life on Amazon.com. You can find it there. And again, he showed me the software and I was just like, oh my God, like just floored by the 360 and how we put a comma we put a period where God puts a comma, right? We see a pregnant pause, and because we have no patience and sometimes we lack faith, we think it's over, and it's not. God is just developing the rest, right? He's developing in us. But if someone would have said to me almost 20 years ago, God said he's going to do blah, 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 and blah. Or if God would have been like, oh, Jennifer, you can have this, but it's going to be 20 years from now. I'd be like, yeah, God. Holy Spirit, thank y'all. I really appreciate the consideration and the fact that you would trust me with it. But I'm going to pass because I would like to have what I got coming now, right? Because you don't know any better. So many of us prayed the Jabez prayer. And thank you, Jesus, that you ignored it for the time being, right? Because none of us was really ready for the enlarge my territory and all that came with it, right? So, I think about all of those things when I'm transitioning. And so what I want to leave you with today are some of the things that God imparted to me today in my own prayer time that I thought would be beneficial to you based on some of the conversations I've had with you via in the comments or, personally or through email or what have you. And that is, what do you want? Like, there is a plan for your life, but I think it's also important, again, back to faith without works is dead. What do you know? Like, there are 5 things. Are there 5 things? I believe so. Well, we'll count them out. That I want you to think about. Who are you? Who are you? What do you want? 4 things. What do you want? What do you have? And what do you need? Who are you? What do you want? What do you have? And what do you need? So whenever I think about where God is taking me next, or what I'm doing, I think about, like, who am I? Who am I at my core? Who am I? What are my values? What are my morals? What are my ethics? What are my standards? Who am I? Am I a risk taker? Not really. Am I conservative? Probably. Am I, family oriented? Am I, am I extroverted? Am I introverted? Who am I? Who is Jennifer at the core of everything? What is a constant about me? Who am I? What do I value? What's important to me? Because who I am is going to dictate the places that I can go and fit and or be comfortable and or move in purpose. Who are you? If you're journaling, which I hope that you are, I want you to use it as a prompt one day. Who am I? Because if you don't know who you are, then you don't know where you can go. And maybe you don't know who you are. I think just like with every other relationship, our relationship with ourselves is like an onion, right? There's layers to it. And just like with everyone else, we know different things about ourselves the longer that we walk with ourselves and the more experiences that we go through that reveal different aspects of who we are to ourselves. I am a woman of conviction. I can't get along to go along. Never have, cannot do it now, probably never will. I can't do something and not be able to look myself in the mirror. I have a moral compass, which is very strong in my life, very strong in my work ethic, in my professional life. And I just can't do something to do it. And as a result, seasons have ended because that wasn't a place where I could grow, evolve, develop, or flourish. So it's important that you know who you are so that when you're looking for your next opportunity, whether we're talking about professionally or personally, you know whether or not that's going to be a fit from the jump. You know, based on what you know about yourself, that will or will not work for you. Okay. Who are you? Next is, what do you want? What do you want out of life? What motivates you? What encourages you? What incentivizes you? What do you want? What are your desires? What do you want to have a big house? Do you want, people have different things. We find this in leadership when we manage teams. Like some team members, they just want to have their names up in lights. I had one colleague I worked with who was in training along with me, and she told flat out some managers we were training, like, hey, y'all care about money. I want to see my name up in lights. She wanted notoriety. She was very clear about what she found, that what incentivized her to do her job. And now she was an award winner, so she wasn't lying. She had an award-winning store. She was an award-winning manager with an award-winning team because she liked to see her name up in lights. For some people, it might be something else. It may be, I would show me the money, right? What you paying me? What is that? For me, it's to operate in purpose. I want to be passionate about what I do, but because of the type of personality I have, because I'm forthright, I can't sell you a product I don't believe in. I'm not going to coach you on something that I think is disingenuous. I have to believe in the service and our product that I'm offering you. As a result, I sucked in sales. Operationally, I was grade A. As a banking center manager, I should have stayed an office manager because I knew how to train my tellers. I knew how to, encourage them. I knew how to lead by example. I knew how to teach them how to balance. And, I care about our customers and all that. But as a banking center manager, I was garbage. I can tell you that because I was in a low income neighborhood. I wasn't selling people credit cards. I knew that when I pulled their credit, they weren't going to be able to get. I wasn't going to try to sell them checking accounts that they could not afford, that had high, maintenance fees on them. I wasn't trying to go out in the neighborhood, in the commercial area, to try to sell, small business owners, credit and all the things I knew, commercial lines of credit, I knew that they couldn't afford or would not be useful to them. I could not do that. And because I couldn't do it, I didn't do it. I didn't believe in it. I couldn't do it. And that was that. So, but that was early in my career. That was actually my first position after being a banking center, a bank management trainee. Then I went to a banking center and I was an office manager initially, and I was promoted to a banking center manager. But I know that wasn't going to work for me, right? So I knew who I was, now know who I am, and I knew what I wanted. I want to walk in purpose. I want to be passionate about what I do. Now that clarity about what I will now consider client-wise, all money is not good money. Opportunity-wise, every opportunity is not for me. I'm round. I'm not going to try to fit myself into a square peg hole. That's not going to work. But that took evolution. That took experience. That took, experiences and knowing that a forced fit is not a good fit, and ultimately it's not going to work anyway. And while you can torture yourself to be there, you're going to be miserable. So that's that. So the first one was, who are you? Second one is, what do you want, right? What do you desire? And the third one is, what do you have? So what do you bring to the table? What qualifications, what gifts do you have? What skill set do you have? What experiences do you have? What do you already have that you can use that align with who you are, what you want, right? That's what we're aligning with. What do you have? So those are things you're going to look at, your resume, your experiences. And I'm not talking about what other people would label. I'm talking expressly about what you see. When you look back over your life and you look back over your experiences, what do you have, right? You are the quantifier and you are the qualifier. We're only measuring against your stick for you to understand. And really what I'm asking you is, what are your strengths, right? What are your strengths? You can even know your weaknesses. Like, I knew that I couldn't sell things I don't believe in. So I knew I couldn't take a sales job because The sales job is going to require, or if I took a job, I had to be very discerning about what type of sales job I took and what type of products I got behind, because I would know that certain things would not align with who I am, what I desire, and what I have. So that's the third prompt. What do you have? What do you have? What are your strengths as that relates to the alignment that we've already talked about? And then lastly, what do you need? So I have talked about this multiple times on this channel. Starting where you are, investing yourself, all of those things. So when you answer the question, who you are, what you want, what you have, so then it's a natural, right? It organically flows into what you need to get what you have, right? Or to get what you want, rather. You have some things, but you need other things to get to where you want to go, what you want. So for some of you, it may be really identifying, wait a minute, I already have this. I'm good with people. I am an excellent communicator. I am emotionally intelligent. I am a natural leader. Wherever I go, people follow my lead. I am hardworking. I am tenacious. I am persevering. All of these things I have, but when you look at what you need, you may say, okay, however, I don't know a lot about training. I don't know a lot about leadership or the difference between management and leadership. I may need to refine my people skills. I'm good, but if you get on my nerves, I might snap. Okay, so the thing about this is no one's going to see your responses to these prompts but you. No one's going to know what you said about yourself but you. So this is a perfect opportunity for you to be honest with yourself, to be honest about your strengths and your opportunities, right? Or your weaknesses or your challenges. And those can all be turned around, right? Whether that be, okay, I'm going to better myself. I'm going to take some classes to get better in this particular skill set. I'm going to get this certification. Whatever it is, I'm going to take this online class. That is up to you to figure out, or to identify rather, what you need. And then there's other avenues after that to go about getting what you need. That's the whole idea. And we're not negating God in this process. You should be prayerful through this process, because I think what you're going to find, or at least what I found, and I think this is true for everyone else, is that there's a lot of things in us already that we haven't identified with because no one has identified it in us for us. I'm going to say that again. There's a lot of things in us already that we haven't identified because no one else has identified it in us for us. Stop waiting on everybody else. That's a word. Stop waiting on man to confirm what's already in you. Pray about it. God will reveal it. It's already there. If you are good at explaining things and giving people examples and anecdotes and stories and all of that, you're already a teacher, okay? You already teach. It's already there. Now, do you have the skill set, the curriculum development, perhaps the facilitation and all that? Maybe you're not as comfortable in it, but you're not as far away from it as you think you are, or as what you think people think you have to be. And we are our worst critics. Look at what you have. Look at your resume. Look at your experiences. I'm not even talking about what you have formally done. I'm talking about the things that you do at the church, or the volunteer work that you do at the center, or, the fact that you're on the phone hours on end with your friends because they always want you to help them figure something out because you're a strategic thinker and a strategic planner and you have wisdom. Whatever it is, it's already there. I hope that this has helped you, right? I hope that this gives you something to think about as you transition through. I don't want you to move. I want to caution you from moving quickly, from transitioning too quickly or jumping out the pot into the fire. Just know that there is a plan, and everything that you need is already in you. You just have to flush it out, and you can do it. Who are you? What do you want? What do you have? And what do you need? Thanks for watching. I'll see you in my next video.